Welcome. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Issues and Insights. I'm Judge Kim Shoemate from the Hardin District Court, and I have the pleasure to introduce to you some of our teen court students today to talk about our community program. Teen Court is available to Hardin County students, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors from all of our local schools. Whether public school, private school, or homeschool, we welcome everyone to come to Teen Court. We like to say that Thursday is where teens take over the courthouse. First joining us today, we have John Woodring. He is currently the chairperson of our Teen Court student government body we call the League of Justice. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Would you talk to the folks today about how you became interested in Teen Court?
Yeah, of course. I remember you came to my school actually and spoke during an assembly we had when I was in 6th grade. Initially, you were also speaking about mock trial, but I was very interested in teen court at the time, but I couldn't do it obviously because I was too young. But my brother did teen court and he told me about it as well, and you came to my school again, and then when I was of age in 8th grade, because of the shadowing process, I came and it's been great ever since.
So you were one of the few students that got to join us as an 8th grade student even before your freshman year because of your brother.
Yeah, and I love it so much.
And I'd like to say that John is the first student we've ever had as a freshman to be elected to the League of Justice because he was already participating his 8th grade year. That made him eligible. So thank you for that service. That's led you to your position today. You were treasurer and then vice chair and now chairman of our League of Justice. Did you ever think when you started that you get to chair that student government body from all the students all across the county?
No, honestly, I didn't think I was going to be on League of Justice at all. It was very intimidating to see those people. They look so put together.
Well, you are one of those put together teens now, so we're really glad to have you. So talk to the folks just a little bit about the League of Justice and how many students we have and what kind of things the League is doing.
Yeah, of course, League of Justice is a very special process. Anyone in teen court is in League of Justice, and we have special meetings throughout the year, usually about once a month, and where we meet and talk about different issues, but we also have fun at those. They can double as social events, so sometimes we play games or maybe watch a movie, stuff like that. And there's about 100 students that graduated this year. League of Justice, only a portion of those students show up because of different obligations they might have, so they might not be able to show up to every meeting, but we do have a good frequent number there.
So for you, between League of Justice, Executive Committee, and Teen Court, you're dedicating pretty much every Thursday of your senior year to Teen Court.
Yeah, I haven't had a free Thursday in years.
Well, I'm so glad that you spend that much time. Now, if you just volunteered with Teen Court, tell me what that school year might look like if you didn't take advantage of League of Justice and you just did the training and did case nights. What kind of commitment would that be for a student?
Yeah, so first you do training, which we have 6 weeks of training. Obviously, we don't do it during fall break, but it's almost every Thursday in a row. But then after that, we have our graduation, and then we do 2 cases a month. So not very time consuming. If you take a case, obviously you'll have to dedicate more time, but otherwise showing up for 2 Thursdays a month.
Good deal. So this is Caitlin Palmer, and Caitlin is currently serving as our treasurer. So tell us about your experience. How did you come to know about Teen Court?
When I started as a freshman in high school, I had heard little things here and there about Teen Court. And then as COVID hit, you didn't hear anything. And then this year it picked up very much so in our school, Teen Court. And then when I heard about it, I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So then that's where I joined Teen Court, was through school. And
tell me where you go to school and what grade you're in now.
I go to Bede County High School and I am a junior.
And so you are our treasurer this year. So you've gotten to do a little bit of fundraising. Tonight we're having a fun fundraiser.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
Tonight we're going to be having pizza and soda over in the conference room. That doubles a lot as a fundraiser, but also as a really fun event for people to come and hang out and have pizza and drinks before court, so that it's not always business. We mix a little bit of pleasure in there.
So you came to us from Meade County.
Yes, ma'am. So
we have North Hardin Christian, where John is, and Meade County, and then of course the Hardin County schools, and then we also jump over to the Bethlehem High, and the schools over there, as well as Fort Knox. So we've just got students from all over.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you came in from Meade County, did you feel like you were going to know anyone at all?
Not really. No, no.
So did you feel like now we're we're creeping up on the end of the school year. Do you feel like you've made associations through teen court that are more than just I see you Thursday?
Yes, ma'am. Very much so.
Good. I enjoy that. One of my favorite things about teen court is getting to bring together students from all across that region to do things that they enjoy and help someone else. So some of the folks that are joining us have never heard of teen court at all, and I know that you got to hear about it just before you came to join. So if you were a brand new student thinking, should I do this? What is this anyway? How would you explain teen court to them?
Oh, goodness.
Put you on the spot.
Teen court is very exciting in itself. It's a very well-deserved learning experience. Coming in and sitting in the gallery is amazing, and then getting back on jury to understand how the process actually works and how much time and energy that each person puts in to helping our community is eye-opening. So in itself, it's a very eye-opening experience, and anybody, even if they're not interested in law enforcement and law, I feel like everybody should just come and join it. You make friends and you get to have fun and stuff like that. So
I agree. So many times people hear about teen court and they think it's just job shadowing, and that if you don't want to be a lawyer or you don't want to go into law enforcement, why would I do that? But as we both said, it's a learning experience, and it has a chance to meet new students, and really the goal is to help the student defendants to get on the right track, and anyone can do that.
right.
Yeah. So John, you've done this promo with me forever with community groups and in school settings. So I'm going to ask you our questions we usually ask. How much does it cost to be involved in teen court?
It is free. It's a free volunteering opportunity.
Absolutely
it costs your
free.
time.
Now, I tell you, sometimes for parents, they don't always come dressed as sharp as you, their students, and so sometimes parents have to buy a belt, or if they want to wear a tie, they may have to buy a tie for their student. But I haven't found a parent yet who was disappointed in finding dress clothes for their high school students. But nothing required. Okay, so when the students come, what are some of the roles that they're able to sign up for and take responsibility on individual cases?
Of course. The roles that you sign up for are obviously your prosecution and defense attorneys. You can also shadow if you're not comfortable speaking yet. You can also sign up to be a clerk or jury foreperson. Jury is chosen randomly on the night of, but and also bailiff, of course. So basically everything in the courtroom except for the judge.
Yeah, so attorneys, bailiffs, clerks, jury members, all are teen students.
Yes.
Absolutely, I love it. And so the cases that we're handling, Caitlin, the student defendants that are coming in, tell us a little bit about that scenario, because some people think this is mock trial, that it's just a learning exercise, it's just competition or pretend. Can you explain to the folks that are watching what we actually do in teen court when it comes to defendants?
Yes, ma'am. It is very much so real. When you are a defending attorney, you get a client who comes to you with a very real and serious issue, and you try your best to talk to the jury about how the person's home life is and what they're going through, and try to explain their actions, and not only their actions, but try to give the jury a suitable recommendation for where they should go from beyond there to get on the right track, because nobody wants to go off the wrong track. Everybody wants to be on the right track to get where they want. And every single client that comes through these doors has a dream and a goal, and they just waver a little bit. So we try to help them get back so that they can achieve their goal.
So part of that defense attorney role then is to humanize the defendant and to convince a jury through jury oral arguments, just like on a TV show where you might see a courtroom experience.
Yes.
You get to argue to the jury in favor of your client.
Yes.
So these are actual juvenile cases where the defendants have already admitted that an action occurred that they shouldn't have done, something that would be against the law. If it were an adult, you call it a crime, or a juvenile, we call it a delinquent act. So they've made an admission and they're coming to teen court for sentencing by their peers. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And obviously you've done a defense role before. Have you ever been a prosecutor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we can't talk about individuals, of course, but we do get to share the types of cases that come through teen court, and even sometimes, if it's memorable, a specific type of consequence, because it explains the program a little. But we would never do anything that would relate back to an individual student or their responsibility as a defendant, because that'd be a breach of confidentiality, right?
Right.
Right. And we train about that. keeping all those things inside. So, John, what would you say would be perhaps a memorable case or a fact scenario that comes to mind when you talk to people about what teen court is?
One would be possession of marijuana. It's a very frequent one that we get. And then the sentencing for that. It was very specific to what the person needed. It was taking into account their home situation, if their parents could take them places for community service, if they actually would write and do the workbooks, if that would be helpful to them, if it was something they enjoyed because they wanted to be a writer, and that was stuff that was actually helping them because they were writing more. So stuff like that, just making sure that the defendant knows that we care and we're listening and we're actually hearing what they need.
So we're tailoring the consequence, the sentence, to the defendant's actions and then also to what he or she has said on the witness stand. Yeah, because the only witness is the defendant, right? If they've already admitted the conduct, we don't bring in a police officer or sheriff deputy or an SRO. They just come in and say, this happened, and so here's who I am, what should the result be? And a teen jury gets to decide that. Have you served on a jury lately?
Yes, ma'am. I was actually jury foreperson last case.
Last time. So did you feel like the teen jury members were serious back in the deliberation room, like they really listened to the case and took their job as a juror seriously?
Yes, ma'am. Each person had a lot of statements and comments on, so one person would catch this, but then somebody else would catch this, like their home life, and then their friends. So everyone is always very inclusive and giving out the finishing statement for said client.
Good. So what do you think about the concept of letting our defendants, as a part of their consequence, come back and sit on a teen court jury? Because it happens. So the person who was charged and admitted and is being sentenced comes back in 2 weeks or 4 weeks as a jury member in teen court. What do you think about that?
I think it really helps the defendant understand that we are taking into account everything that happens in the courtroom and that we're not just throwing out a sentence. I really think it opens them up more to seeing what happens behind the scenes and making them feel more included into this program.
That's what I hope happens, and I'm glad to know it does, because when the teens go back to deliberate, there's no adult back there with you. I mean, this is your teen court. You argue the prosecution's case, you argue the defense case, you question and cross-examine the witnesses, and then there are teens that are jury members. There's no adult back there. You all know what you're doing, you take it seriously, you listen to the facts, and match up an appropriate, suitable, tailored sentence for a defendant. I'm always proud of the work you all do. It never ceases to amaze me the level of understanding that teens have of other teens, and when you have a sentence that so matches that individual that an adult might not have thought of.
Right.
And so I really appreciate the work that you all do. And John, you're a senior this year.
Yes.
So this will be your fifth year swan song. Do you feel like you're mentoring and training up some new teens to take over leadership?
I feel like I'm doing it. Hopefully I'm doing it well. I'm actually mentoring on a case this evening, so hopefully I am imparting my wisdom of years onto them, but I really do hope, and I know that these teens, especially this new group that came in this year, they are wonderful people and they're going to do great work.
Yeah, I think so too. And it really warms my heart to see seniors and juniors mentoring our freshmen and sophomores so that they can come in and do more. So when you're first here, everybody trains the same. And then you have the chance to say, I'd like to be a prosecutor, I'd like to be a defense attorney, I'd like to be a clerk or a bailiff or a foreperson. So you can essentially sign up for those roles. But we don't leave you by yourself ever, do we? Yeah, we're going to make sure that you've got a co-counsel, so there's 2 prosecutors working together or 2 defense attorneys working together, and then potentially even a mentor just to make sure you're on the right track if you have questions. The other interesting thing about our teen court that's not the same across the state is our local bar association does such a wonderful job of mentoring and helping prepare individual cases. So John, can you talk about some of that where you go and meet the local prosecutor or meet a local bar defense attorney?
Yeah, of course. Usually whenever you're in a case for defense or prosecution, you'll meet with a local practicing attorney here and get to ask them questions. Hopefully you'll have already prepared something to bring to the table, but questioning is this a good question to ask? How would I ask this question the correct way? Asking about anything that you really need help with that you feel like they would be able to help you with. What's a good theme? Is this good for an opening? Is this too long? Stuff like that, that really you get an inside look because they've been in a courtroom and they know what courtroom's like and they know how procedures go.
Yeah, we do try to often have a prosecutor from the county attorney's office mentor the prosecutors from Jenny Oldham's office, and we try to have a local bar association attorney mentor those who are doing defense work in juvenile court as they're living, and then they get to come mentor the teen students as well. So that's really exciting. Have you had a chance to work with any of the local attorneys?
Yes, when I was on a prosecuting case, I had the great opportunity of working with one. He was very helpful.
I think that that's one of the special things about teen court is creating those relationships. We've had teen court students that would go on to work in the summer as a runner for a law firm where you run documents from the courthouse back to their offices or help in the office. And we've had teen court students that have gone on to be lawyers and teen court commissioners that are going on to be judges. So it's exciting to watch that whole level of mentoring go on from there. So John, do you think that you'll ultimately have a career in law at all, or has this just been a great high school experience?
It's been a great high school experience. I actually have no interest in law.
But 5 years of teen court.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot, and I know more about the law process now, more than the average citizen might, which is something I really think everyone should have more information on, but law just isn't for me.
So what do you think about the opportunity for writing and speaking that you get in teen court, especially if you take on the role of one of the attorney jobs?
Oh, well, if you're going to be an attorney, you're going to have to write and speak a lot. It's a really good opportunity if you're afraid to speak in front of people. I know I used to be a bit more shy about speaking in front of people, and now it's second nature. I'm very comfortable in front of other people. And writing, you're going to have to write your questions, your speeches, everything. And it really helps. It also helps with your writing ability because you have to find the way to say the right words in the right time.
I agree. I think that when we concept the theme, every case should have a theme. When you work with a co-counsel, you should work together as a team and find a theme so that whenever the jury goes back, they should say the prosecution's theme was, and the defense attorney's theme was, because it was so obvious from opening and closing and questions where you wanted to focus their attention. So persuasive argument and persuasive writing is how I think of the work that we do in teen court. Yeah. So what do you think? Do you believe that the work in teen court that you've done has been beneficial for writing or speaking?
Oh yes, definitely. Of course, writing those speeches and those questions have helped a lot. And getting up and having to speak in front of people, you become more comfortable in yourself and in front of people. So yes, definitely.
I think that public speaking is one of those things that you have to do it more in order to be comfortable. You can't just say, I'm not going to be afraid of this, or it's not going to make me nervous. You have to actually do it. And teen court, I think, gives you lots of opportunities to do it in small snippets. So it can be a courtroom full of people, but you're so focused on the 6 jury members that it's not like it's in front of a large crowd when you're just focused on those 6. So I think that's excellent. Well, I appreciate you all so much in the time you've given. You've done an excellent job, and thank you for joining us today on Issues and Insights. Well, I have 2 more students who have joined me for teen court, so thanks for being a part of our show and learning from our teens and from our adults. And Kaylee Crick and Jordan Stevie are here today, and they're going to talk a little bit about teen court. We've spoken with some other students about the training process, but you ladies are getting ready to do a case here in a few minutes, yes? Yes. Are you all co-counsel or opposing? Co-counsel. All right. You said that together like you'd practiced that. I love it. All right, so Jordan, tell me a little bit about where you go to school and how you became involved in teen court, and then we'll talk about not the particulars of tonight's case, but preparation.
Yeah. So my name is Jordan Stevie. I go to Central Hardin currently. I'm a sophomore there, but I learned about the program when I was an 8th grader at East Hardin. One of my friends, she was a freshman at the time, she was doing it, and I wanted to be a part of it because in 8th grade is about the time that I realized I wanted to go into something with law. But I didn't have a sibling who was in high school, so I messaged the Instagram and asked, and they were like, I can, but I have to have a sibling in high school. So since 8th grade, I decided I wanted to do it. And I was excited to do it freshman year, but because of COVID, I realized that doing it online probably would not have been my thing. But whenever I realized you guys were doing it this year, I was like, I have to be here.
You jumped on that one.
Yeah, so I've been coming every week, essentially, since the homecoming. Not the homecoming, yeah.
The open house and
open house,
training,
yes.
yes, from day one.
Yep, from
Jumped
day
in.
one.
We did keep going during COVID, but you are right. Doing it all online was a chore, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We actually did some trials. The defendants were at their home, prosecutor was at their own home, defense attorney at their own home. I was here in the courthouse, but nobody else was. And we did it on back then we were using Skype.
Yeah.
And then when it was time for the jury would go to a completely different Skype meeting with only the teams, and then they would come back in and give their decision in our large group Skype meeting. It was a technological nightmare because I am not tech savvy and I had to play tech master.
Yeah, I'm not very
But,
tech-savvy either.
but we definitely kept it going. You know, there were only 2 high schools, or 2 teen court programs, I should say, that kept it going through COVID, us and Northern Kentucky. But you're right, in person is so much better. You get to enjoy each other's company and you get to learn from one another and be in the same spot. And there's something about being in a courthouse. It's just kind of neat.
I feel like it's easier to talk with your clients as well, like whenever you're in person, because you can kind of get to know them more, and I feel like they're more comfortable talking to you in person versus like on the phone call. Because I've done both in person and on phone call, and in person I feel like they definitely open up more, you get more, versus doing Zooms or just calling.
Definitely. So Kaylee, how long have you been doing teen court?
This is my 3rd year in teen court. I found out through for teen court from my friend Patricia. She did it the first year. And then so I decided to come with her, and I've been in it ever since I was a sophomore.
I love it. Now tell everybody where you go to school.
I go to Central Hardin, and I'm a senior.
And you're a senior. I'm going to lose you next year. Oh my gosh. It goes by so fast. It really does. So, ladies, tonight you are co-counsel as prosecution or defense?
Defense.
Defense. Have you done prosecution before?
Done both.
Both? Have you done prosecution before? Yes. So you've seen both sides of it? Both sides. So what would you say is your favorite, prosecution or defense?
I like defense better because you're more prepared and you get to actually talk with the client.
As compared to prosecution,
Yeah.
you get paperwork to look at. Defense, you get to meet your client and just really humanize and hear the whole story first. Yes. Which one do you like better, prosecution or defense? Defense. Everybody has one they just really feel like they click with. Yeah. All right, now the folks at home know that we do real cases, and they know that you meet with a local practicing attorney, they know you meet with the defendant, but they really don't know exactly how you get assigned a case and work through that kind of process. So how did you first get assigned this defense case? We're not going to talk about your defendant specifically, but this case, how did you get assigned?
You just talked with Miss Susie and tell her if you're interested or not, and if she needs somebody, she'll reach out to you.
So you got your assignment from Miss Susie, and what do you get when you get an assignment?
You get a book with the case files and any grades or behavioral reports.
So you learn a lot about the person before you even meet them.
Yeah.
And then what happens next after you read all that material?
You contact your defendant and the parents, and you set up a call with them, and then later on in the week you'll do like the call with the attorney and your defendant.
So you either might meet in person or on a Zoom call with a local practicing attorney, your defendant, student, teen client, and their parent. Yes. So I mean, you're responsible for that. There's nobody there telling you what to do and how to do it. That's your job to represent, as an attorney, represent your client. That's a lot of responsibility. Have you ever had that kind of responsibility in any other task or club or anything you've done before?
Not really.
To me, it's unique. Yeah. Yeah. So after you meet with the local practicing defense attorney, your client, and you've gotten a chance to tell me what goes on in that type of meeting.
So you kind of get to know your client more, and you get to hear their story. That's like my favorite thing about defense, because you get to understand it, and you get to understand what made them do what they did, and like understand the details versus just reading the paper, because paper can make you think of people like a certain way versus when you get to know them and you get to talk to them. So you get to actually hear their story, which is a reference I like to use, because one of the first attorneys I worked with, he explained how it's we, the defense, are telling the defendant's story. And so...
And that stuck with you?
That stuck with me, yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to talk to them, and then you get to make your own argument, your closing, and your questions on how you want them to be heard, and then your opening, so then the jury will understand why they did what they did, and they can really be heard. So, and you work with them a couple times. Like this most recent one, we talked with them quite a bit, and we talked with them with our attorney for quite a bit. It was actually a 2.5 hour attorney call.
Okay. So you really worked hard with that.
Yeah.
You feel like you know that person. And when you do that, I believe that the student defendants feel like you're investing in them. You create a connection, a true attorney-client relationship, and they know it's confidential, right? Yeah, you all are very cautious in teen court about maintaining their confidentiality. Yeah. So if you saw that defendant out at Wendy's, at the mall, or in the hallways of school, if they happen to go to your school, how would you react, and how would that confidentiality affect your relationship there? Do you just ignore them, or what do you do?
I say that you could wave. I don't think anybody would like give them a smile, wave at them. Nobody's really going to question that too much. I'm not going to go up to them and be like, hey, do you remember this when you were charged with this and I was your defense? But I think like a wave, a hello, maybe how's your day, would keep a good relationship.
I think that's important too. I think that's a good way to put it, keeping that relationship. I think when individuals know that someone else is watching them do good, then it makes them want to do more well, right? If someone says, you know, good to see you, you look great today, how's your day going? You're like, oh, someone notices me. I think that's an important part of the follow-up after. So what about preparing your defendant for the night of court? What kind of things do you do to say, okay, you're gonna walk in the courthouse? What do you do to get them ready for their, I pulled up in the parking lot, now what do I do?
So we basically just talk to them and go over the questions and how the night will go and the dress code and everything like that. Like for this case, we made sure what questions we were going to ask to prepare him, and then tonight we actually went over the whole case, like how it would go, like opening, questioning, and all that, and then just make sure they're comfortable and not nervous.
Yeah, and they come to court. Teen court usually starts with admin from 6 to 6:30, case 1 from 6:30 to 7:30, case 2 from 7:30 to 8:30, and then we usually head out 8:30 or so, depending on how busy we are, right? So how early does your student defendant come to the courthouse usually?
So tonight, our defendant showed up at 5:30. They normally show up anywhere from like 5:30 to 6 o'clock, to like 5:30 to like 6:30 in that hour, depending on what case you're doing. We're the second case, so they came a lot early, but that was all right. It gave us tons of time for preparation, and we'll still have some after.
Yeah.
And then it gives them time to understand and go over everything.
A deep breath.
And a little bit of a break, because coming in here is definitely nerve-wracking. A lot of the students and people who are coming in here haven't been here before. This is their first time, so kind of get a little comfortable, or as comfortable as you can be in your surroundings.
Yeah. And that's important for your defendant, right? So they'll be comfortable in their surroundings so that they can testify and not feel too nervous about it, so they can really tell their story. For a defendant not to just express their side of the story in the sense of whatever factual scenario got them there, but the whole after that, how have they grown and what have they learned, and express that to a jury. That's an important part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important for the jury to know that the defendant has thought about their actions and thought about how things could have gone better. And I think it's really important for defendants to be able to say that out loud to someone, that, you know, this happened and it may not have been my most shining moment, but I've learned from this and I want to do better, and here's how I'm going to do differently the next time it happens. And I think good defense attorneys will bring out those very questions. And when defendants leave, I hope that a year or 2 or 5 years from now, when they think back about their teen court night, I really hope they feel like that they had the chance to express themselves, that they had a chance to be heard, and that they had the chance to have someone stand by them, like a defense attorney, to make sure that they could get that done in the night when it really happened, when it really needed to be done. So you all are getting ready to have a trial in a few minutes, so thank you so much for sharing about your preparation, about your experience. Perhaps there'll be another teen that's listening that'll say, next fall when they train, I'm coming to Hardin County Teen Court.
It's an awesome program. I will suggest it to anyone who's interested in anything like this, and even if you aren't, come give it a try.
Thank you. You agree?
Yes.
I agree too. Thank you for joining us. Issues and Insights. There's always something interesting, and tonight we're so glad that we were able to share with you Hardin County Teen Court, where teens take over the courthouse.